Hello everybody, welcome to this video, another video in the series on Great Expectations. Everything comes from Mr. Bruff's Guide to Great Expectations, which is £3.99 at mrbruff.com, so do pick up a copy. What we're going to look at today is a sample question, an approach to answering it, and just some ideas really. The actual sample answer is in the ebook. I'm not going to make a video on that, so pick up a copy if you want to see the full sample answer. So let's have a look at this question, just an example question. Explore how Dickens presents ideas about social class in this extract and elsewhere in Great Expectations. In this extract from the end of chapter 27, Joe has come to visit Pip in London, and the visit has not gone well. Joe is saying goodbye to Pip. As a start, think about what Joe says about social class in this extract, how Dickens presents ideas about social class in the novel as a whole. And the extract is, Pip, dear old chap, life is made of ever so many partings welded together, as I may say, and one man's a blacksmith, one's a whitesmith, and one's a goldsmith, and one's a coppersmith. Divisions among such must come and must be met as they come. If there's been any fault at all today, it's mine. You and me is not two figures to be together in London, nor yet anywheres else, but what is private and beknown and understood among friends. It ain't that I am proud, but that I want to be right, as you shall never see me no more in these clothes. I am wrong in these clothes. I'm wrong out of the forge, the kitchen, or the meshes. You won't find half so much fault in me if you think of me in my forge dress with my hammer in hand, or even my pipe. You won't find half so much fault in me if, supposing as you should ever wish to see me, you come and put your head in at the forge window and see Joe the blacksmith there at the old anvil in the old burnt apron, sticking to the old work. I'm awful dull, but I hope I've beat out something right nigh the rights of this at last. And so God bless you, dear old Pip, old chap, God bless you. I had not been mistaken in my fancy that there was a simple dignity in him. The fashion of his dress could no more come in its way when he spoke these words than it could come in its way in heaven. He touched me gently on the forehead and went out. So, let's have a little think about this question. Now, obviously, all of the questions, they give you the extract, but they want you to apply it to the wider novel as well. One way to plan it, though, is to think about the assessment objectives, as I do here, as we do in this table. So if you were thinking about AO1, the idea of themes and characters and your opinion and other interpretations, then we could think, okay, well, what are we going to write about? Joe's wisdom about social class and his place in it. I'm wrong. The relationship between Joe and Pip and how Joe is shown to care for Pip. And then we need to think about the rest of the novel. We could talk about how attitudes towards social class are shown in a different part of the novel. So we might write about Bentley Drummle's snide remarks about seeing Smithies on his ride in the countryside. Then when we're writing about language, structure and form, we could talk about the use of tools and clothing as metaphors for social position. The word old to suggest fondness and the status quo. Joe's ideas are the conservative Victorian ones. The presentation of Joe's character in this extract in particular used to highlight Pip's snobbery and pretension. And Joe's language, such as how the fluency of speech contrasts with the dialect words and phrasing, like off the meshes, highlights his inherent wisdom. In the rest of the novel, we might compare Pip's attitudes at this point in the novel to a later point when his characters learned wisdom. So, for example, when he meets Magwitch. We might compare Pip's treatment of Joe to Estella's scorn of the young Pip. We might compare Pip's treatment of Joe to Matthew's kindness in teaching him manners without being judgmental. How would we bring in the context? Where would it be relevant? Well, many Victorians believed God had ordained your place in society, so it was disobedient to aim higher. We might write about Joe's feeling about the lack of fluidity of social class, sticking to the old work. We might write about social class being related to work. A gentleman shouldn't work, was what was felt in Victorian society. We might mention Joe's acknowledgement of Pip's judgment and how it's formed by his attempt to behave and dress out of his class. In the rest of the novel, we could mention how Dickens explores and had experience of how money, especially debt, makes a difference to social status. Matthew is a gentleman, but poverty makes him have to work, whereas Bentley has the money to lead a gentleman's life, has the position, but not the manners. Orlick could be seen as his low-status counterpart. And of course, no marks. Well, it depends which exam board you're doing. But if you've got no marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar, you don't need to worry about AO4. And this is how you might just attack the extract. You can draw all over it, write all over it, annotate, so we can see that the metaphorical language Joe uses, many partings welded together, reflects his trade. So that's a nice bit of language analysis. His language being all to do with the world that he knows. When he says you and me is not two figures to be together in London, that's a reflection of context. Joe's conservative views reflect the early Victorian beliefs about social position and class. My hammer in my hand, or even my pipe, well, the type of work suggests the social class, the physical rather than the intellectual. I hope I've beat out something. There's another metaphor that reflects Joe's trade. And we've got some repetition, which is a structural feature. Old anvil, old burnt apron, old work, which you could say suggests fondness and familiarity. And then a simple dignity. The fashion of his dress could not come in its own way when he spoke these words. Well, Pip is referencing his own snobbery.